It's more important the responsibility that you have than the glitters of a world that will never be yours at the end of the day. When you sell luxury, you cannot be like your customers. That's one thing that you have to understand immediately. The moment you get too close to your customers, it's the moment you fail.
This is Gloneration podcast, conversations around the new generation of global talents and brands. Ciao, I'm your host, Simona Lodolo. Every 2 weeks, together with an international guest, we'll embark on a journey to explore what it means to be a leader in today's ever-connected and constantly evolving world. My guests, managers, entrepreneurs, and standout figures from around the globe are shaping the future of culture, economics, and society. Their stories, experiences, and visions are here to inspire the next generation. The Gloneration. Welcome to this first episode. I'm super excited because it's the very first Gloneration guest, a great friend of mine, and definitely one of the greatest experts of the Asian markets in the automotive industry, luxury cars, but not only. With me today, Mirko Bordiga, CEO Asia Pacific of Prometeon Tyre Group. Ciao Mirko.
Ciao Simona.
Thank you so much for accepting my invitation.
My pleasure.
And welcome to Gloneration podcast.
Thank you.
Let me recap your incredible career. Before your current role, Mirko has been Chief Executive Officer of Maserati and Alfa Romeo China, Chief Operations Officer Asia Pacific at Pirelli, Regional Director of McLaren Automotive Asia, Vice President of Sales and CEO of Ducati Asia Pacific, and General Manager at Ferrari Maserati China. And apart from automotive, you are generally an expert of luxury because you also led the China chapter of Alta Gamma, who is the foundation that brings together high-end Italian cultural and creative companies. Something that is very recent, but I want to start your interview and the questions is in June, you've been awarded with the title of Knight of the Order of the Star of Italy, which is one of the most important and relevant recognitions awarded by the President of the Italian Republic. This is an award that has been given only to the persons that really have acquired a special merit in the promotion of a friendly relationship and cooperation between Italy and other countries. So Mirko, this is something very rare to obtain as an award, very prestigious. What is the personal and professional meaning that this award has for you?
I feel it as a recognition of all the things that I've been doing outside of Italy since 1999, basically. I left Italy in 1999, and I always tried to make sure that abroad people understood what Italy stands for and what Italian style is about. Also explaining the Italian lifestyles that you can obtain through a wide array of products that can enrich and make life more beautiful and more enjoyable for our friends that live abroad. Italy has, for historical reason, has a huge population of Italians living abroad. You name it, Australia, South America, US. You're US now, so yes. You know very well. So basically, wherever we travel, we tend to gather and to stay around and to meet some Italians that have been, let's say, the flag of Italy in every single country. And I feel proud that I was recognized to have contributed in my field of business and with my capabilities to this. Italy is a great country. Italians are great people. We gave a lot to the world. I think we still have a lot to give.
This award also means that you have been a very strong link between Italian and the countries where you have been. We met in China, but you have been also to Japan. You speak Japanese, right?
You spotted correctly. For me, selling a product in a foreign market like China, for example, is a way to improve the knowledge. Nobody can do the things by himself. So I was super happy to have the chance to manage a team of great managers, great professionals. First, and they understood. And second, they helped me to reinforce what Italy stands about in the country. I remember when I was in Japan, one of my global CEOs during an interview when I was in Ducati, we had a very good performance in Japan at the time. And he said in an interview after being requested, hey, why in a country in Japan, that is a country that produces high displacement motorcycles, you're so successful with Ducati? And he said, because we have a team of Japanese people that are a bit Italian, managed by an Italian that is a little bit Japanese. So I think this was real, not just in that specific time in Japan, but he managed to capture a part of my character that is real. I try to adapt and to adjust myself wherever I go, and to understand and see what the people of that country wants, and find a way to give them the Italian style they're looking for, even without knowing.
And I think this really is what make global talent successful, because the numbers, of course, are crucial, but behind the numbers there is culture. There are cultures in our case, because when you are from one culture and you move to another one and you link them, that's when you are successful in doing that. I guess numbers are easier to.
Yeah, it's obviously much easier working for big brands than working for unknown brands or brands that have to be built up from scratch. So somehow my job was much easier than job that other people does daily. But on the other hand, you also have a great responsibility, because what is a brand? A brand is history. It's the story behind a certain company, a certain product, a certain philosophy that stands behind the item. And you have to you have the responsibility not to ruin it, and to communicate it in the right way, to make sure that that brand keeps the personality in the long term. So we're working for these companies, let's say, given piece of history of this company, and we have to make it stronger and make sure that it goes into the future as strong as it can be.
Yeah, you're right. We spoke about the award this June,
Yes.
2024, but I want to ask you, what's your beginning? Where did you grow up? If somehow this influenced your career and who you want to be also.
Well, for sure, yes. It influenced a lot. I grew up in Milano, from a poor family. My father and my mother were both nurses, and you know that early 70s was not the best or let's say quietest period of the history of Italy. And I grew up working since I was basically 8. I was helping my grandparents in the fields, cooking for them. When I was 15, I started working as a, let's say, mason, assistant mason, bringing heavy stuff in the construction sites. Then when I was 18, I started university. At the same time, at night, I was a backstage technician in Piccolo Teatro di Milano until I went to the army, that at the time was compulsory. Then I graduated and I started working as a buyer in a supermarket chain, starting in one of my major passions, that's actually very Italian, the food industry. I was buyer of cheese, fresh food, frozen food, Gruppo GS Supermercati. It was later acquired by Carrefour. After 3 years of that job, I jumped into motorcycles in Ducati, where it's all started.
I think this is a very fascinating story. For our audience, I already interviewed someone who has a pretty similar start, very modest, like very work-oriented. My family, the same. So nobody in my family went to the university. And it's quite a responsibility, because parents doing lots of efforts to let you study. I think now it's a little bit easier for some, but not for everybody, and not everywhere in the world. I think our generation, we used to work and study because, of course, it was a tough moment. It's a family effort. A family effort is not just our own effort, but it's a good example, because I think it's something that pushed us very hard.
Yeah, but to be very honest, I think for us was tough on that side, but easier on another. Now the competition that young people have is much higher. I think young people now are way, way smarter than I feel I was at the time. I'm serious. Just looking at my kids, what they do, what they say, what they learn, they have access to way more information than the one we had at the time. So I think it's tougher for them.
I think the processing all the informations, pick the right career, the right path, because it's confusing sometimes because you have so many choices and then they change so quickly. This is the difference that I feel. For me, it was a career. I picked one and I knew that it was that one.
This is one aspect. The other aspect is now that the competition is global. Before was not. When I finished the university, I had 3-4 jobs lined up. I just had to choose. Now the times have changed and the young people have a tougher life.
Yeah, you're right. That's why also the idea of Gloneration, because since everything is on a global scale.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to create this podcast to share some experiences with someone who did it, who is so part of this Gloneration. Because for me, Gloneration is really linked to experience or skills, But what led you to pursue this career, and especially let's talk about the luxury cars, automotive, and motorbike?
I would love to say something more exciting, but in reality, it was by chance. I sent a CV and I was taken in Ducati. From there, everything started. I always had a big passion for Japan and Japanese culture, even since I was 14, 15, obviously due to anime and cartoons and mangas. At the time, they were looking for area manager Asia Pacific, and they said, okay, let's apply, let's see how it goes. I sent, and actually went well. I moved from Milan to Bologna, and I started as Asia Pacific area manager in 1998.
You started in Italy, and then
Yes.
You moved there.
I spent 1 year and a half in Borgo Panigale, and then they asked me, hey, there is an assignment of 1 month to Tokyo. Would you like to go? So it's 1 month. Obviously, I'll go. And the month is still continuing now.
This is pretty common, I have to say, because when we moved to China because of my husband, it was supposed to be very, very short time. And then why not another year, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, no, the funny point is that I left Italy at late 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. Italy economy was booming. And on the other way around, at the end of 97, you had the paper tigers crisis and the real estate in Japan collapsed. So I was jumping from a country in which everything was going perfect to a country that everybody was saying would be swallowed by the sea after 1 month. So people were actually asking me if I was in the right state of mind. So, are you crazy? Are you okay to go to Japan now? Really? You're going to Japan? But, I said, to me, I think in the long term, demographics will change. And I said, even myself at the time, I said, here you have a big chunk of humanity in this part of mankind in this part of the world. Numbers don't lie. At the end, I think if I'm lucky, I said myself, I may experience the time in which wealth will be siphoned out of the West into Asia. And I was lucky because that's what happened.
I think it needs some courage, lots of courage, honestly, and also some, long view. If you move just for, okay, I take it now, I go, and then, 1 year I do whatever I have to do, and then I'm back. The perspective is very different. It's not just luck. I don't really believe in luck.
It's madness. It was not courage. It's a bit of madness.
Okay.
But sometimes it's necessary. As they say, Roma used to say, audaces fortuna juvat, Luck helps the brave people. So it went okay. But not only on the work side, also on family side, I get kids here. I be part of Japanese culture that I absorbed. Now, next of April will be exactly 20 years I've been in China. So I've seen a big chunk of the world. And I see some developments.
Absolutely. You are one of the few, at least the few that I know, that have been in Asia for so long. Because sometimes, since you are not from there, you feel like I've been borrowed, you know, from a country. I can always go back. And I'm sure you met so many foreigners, expert managers, even successful ones that then from time to time they decided, no, this is not my country. This is not me. I want to change.
So many.
And it's a pity sometimes.
But basically, I want to correct you in a word that you said when you introduced me. I don't like the word expert because for me in Asia, mostly in China, when somebody say I'm an expert here, I'm an expert there, knowing what I know, I would more Socratically say that I know that I don't know. Clearly, first of all, Asia is a geographical expression. There are basically no common traits in any of the countries. So you really have to change approach every time you decide to make business in one country. So you have to reset your mind every time you leave Pudong airport to go anywhere. So no expert. I would like an observer most. Because you have to observe and adapt your strategy, adapt your tactics to what you see. And again, you've been in China for enough years to see dramatic changes in just less than a decade is another country.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I'm sure you went through many challenges in your career, but can you mention the biggest one that you had faced?
Well, let's say that there are daily problems that would make some people crumble outside of China if you're not used. But if I have to become a little bit more theoretical, I would say the biggest challenge has always been try to explain China to people outside of China, to the headquarters. That has always been one of the major issues because everyone has their own idea about China. But if you think of China in 2008 and China this year, you could well be in another country. The customers have changed. People that are buying cars now or luxury now, 20 years ago, either were not born or they were in nursery school. So how can you think that China is the same? And you try to explain, but given the mindset we have in Europe of the things moving so slowly, the pace being so predictable, very difficult for them to understand what we've been going through here.
Especially just to connect with what you said before, especially for brand with a long history, because new brands maybe have a shorter history, but sometimes they are more flexible. But the longest is the history. I'm not saying and generalizing anything. I've been work also with some of the premium brands, European ones. Sometimes the culture stuck and it's more difficult compared to a new brand to adapt and localize not only to market, but also to consumers.
Yes, well, when I was there, the average age of the Maserati customer in the West was 55 years old. But in China, the average age was 36.
That's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference that drives different requirements in terms of marketing tools, communication strategies, service requirements, whatever you want.
Yeah,
and you have to explain, for example, many companies that the marketing campaign they do for Europe and they want you to use here to save cost doesn't really work. That was part of the job to make sure that they understood. But this position has to be seen as a bridge between cultures. That is, I think, the basic of everything. If you don't understand as a company what is the second market basically for everything, then how can you pretend to be successful?
Yeah, that's true. But how do you become a bridge? How do you work on yourself to become a bridge?
God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we should listen double than speak. If you listen and you observe the environment around you, you can catch the signals. And if you are not blindsided by arrogance, you can see that maybe your own way, the one you used in problem solving, the system you're using may not be the best one. You understand why other people behave in different ways, and then you can make connections and make sure, okay, guys, you think like this, but our brand and our spirit is this one. How we apply our spirit to this reality. This is one. And the other one, you have to be humble. I think Asia, even though, again, I don't like the expression Asia, but coming to this part of the world humbles you. And if you try to breathe and be absorbed what is around you, after a while you can understand and you can act as a bridge.
Yeah, you're right. And listening is is a huge part. As a CEO, you're supposed to lead, and it's not always easy listening first, because sometimes your local team is asking from you some directions. This happened to me, for example, and I said, but first, you tell me your opinion, because I cannot drive a car if I'm just sitting here, I need the gas. I need many other things to let the car go.
Yes, as a CEO, you have the responsibility to foster a company culture that allows the people to be free to express themselves. Even more, because in China, for example, people tend to the boss say the word, but you have to even work harder to make sure that the people feel free to express. If somebody has a good idea, you let them try without punishing failure. The only thing that you should punish is bad faith. When people have some creative ideas, then it's addictive, Each one of us want to work in an environment in which your opinion is valued, in which you can work to see your ideas take life or be implemented, makes people happy. And that becomes like a drug. I tell you, it's very difficult to leave a place like this. You even have much higher retention for the staff that you have. You have to treat the people like they're people, not like their number.
Easier said than done sometimes for someone. I'm not talking about you because I know you, and I think just listening half an hour to what you said is inspiring. But no, it's not that easy.
No.
Because especially for what you said before, then you have to protect these ideas from maybe headquarters that are not very flexible.
But that's your job at the end of the day, because if a company sends you to a key market like China, they have to trust you, because the market is really too important not to trust you. If they don't trust you, then of course it's a different topic. Then becomes like mission impossible to achieve anything. Or the elephant's cemetery, where you send the people for the last 3 years of the career to end up their assignment in a, say, flashy position to reward them. But that's not the point. The point is initially build a bridge between the two countries and make sure that the brand you represent is well understood and well promoted in the place that is under your management. We are all temporary at the end of the day. None of us lives forever. It's more important the responsibility that you have than the glitters of a world that will never be yours at the end of the day. When you sell luxury, you cannot be like your customers. That's one thing that you have to understand immediately. The fact that you represent a huge brand, a great brand that has been around centuries or that has made a history of a specific automotive. I think about Ferrari. Basically, the moment you get too close to your customers, it's a moment you fail. Look, the relationship between yourself and the brand is the same relationship that there is between the priest and God. You can speak about God. You have to communicate the word, but no priest pretends he's God. You have to keep understanding of who you are, the fact that you are working for this brand to do the best for this brand, but you are not the brand.
This is another, easy said and not very easy done. Because especially with the luxury, because they're bubbling, sparkling, you tend to be, I want to be not even part of the community of and then you lose a little bit of your track.
You lose objectivity somehow. As a CEO, as a GM, you have to be objective in your decision.
This career is very curious because you switched from business to business to consumers, which is not an easy task. Again, I guess this is a big challenge. This would be, at least for me. How did you approach and adapt your approach to the different areas?
I always have been attracted by specific projects. I think the project that they offer me now is extremely interesting. You're right. Now it's 1 year, exactly 1 year in a week, that I'm working in Prometeon, that is the previous Pirelli Industrial. And you have to take some time to learn the dynamics. But at the end, what I like is the outlook of the project that we are doing. And again, my function as a bridge is intact.
For you, everything sounds so easy, but also this choice, Mirko. When you work for luxury, sometimes it's really hard to say, I go different way, different path, and even more so business to business, because you fall in love with a brand, not with a project. I guess for the audience, it's very interesting, your suggestions to look at a project, not only as a brand.
Yeah, I agree. The point is, I tend to be carried away from what I'm doing, because I feel that the brand I'm working for really becomes my responsibility, becomes my brand somehow. So I have to try the best to achieve the best result I can. They also pay me for that. But at the same time, I always want to try something new. I have to be challenged. I need the challenge. And if I don't have it, then I really get bored. You don't really want to see me bored, because then I create a mess just for the sake of solving them. So I feel when it's time to change. I feel it. And I feel when there are opportunities that are very interesting to be pursued. And I enjoy.
This is also linked to the next questions. 3 traits of your personality, of character, that you would say are crucial to pursue a global career or work for global brands. What would you say?
Tough question. The first one is humility. You know me many years. You know that I never think my way is the best way. I always listen to the others. I recognize when somebody else has better idea than mine. Then determination. Because if I want to achieve something, then I arrange the things in a way that obviously not always. You do have some failures sometimes, but at least you tried your best. And not take yourself too seriously. This is also very important. If you take yourself too serious, you become laughable. So I always like joking about myself, about what we did. I think these are the 3 that come into my mind now.
And
tell me if I'm right. Tell me if you agree, because you know me.
I do agree. I agree. I think you have so many other traits. So tenacity, for example, working for global brands, it's very stressful, and sometimes you just tend to say, okay, you know what? I tried. Either one way or the other is putting so much pressure on you that someone with your experience could pick any brand, any company, any country, at least in Asia. I don't want to use Asia because you don't like it, but you know how it works, with your curricula. But being humble, as you said, I think made you stronger, not giving up.
But if you give up, what's the point? Actually, I never think about it, because stress comes with the position. So it's clearly managing stress is obviously absolutely necessary, because you have a lot of responsibility, problems daily. But it's absolutely necessary. If you are a person heavily influenced by stress, it's complicated.
For you, it comes easy because you don't take yourself but in the longer run, in the marathon, it's tough. Maybe also your relationship with sport, Mirko. I also want you to mention something about your sport career, whether this helped you.
A lot, to be honest. Until 40, I was heavily overweight and healthily miserable. When one day at 40, I said myself, no way, stop, finish. And I started running. Then I learned swimming at 45. I know that sounds weird, but I wasn't. No, I'm a mountain guy. And then I started cycling. So I entered into triathlon. And I ended up doing half Ironmans mainly, but also one full Ironman race. Yeah, I think this kind of sports really helps you with stress management, forces you to be very organized because the amount of training you have to put in the activity is not like any other sports I've ever seen. And then you manage suffering because you do suffer. But when you finish, the enjoyment of finishing a specific full Ironman race is more than proportional to the amount of suffering you had through it. It's good.
You can relate triathlon with a global career or a global experience. I think it's something that you can create as a parallel.
Yeah, actually, there was my trainer, lady, amazing. She used to tell me, Mirko, remember, Ironman 99% is from the mind. The remaining 99% is training.
Super cool lady.
She's cool.
Yeah. A couple of games. The first one, Mirko, what if Gloneration could be a masterclass and you are one of the teacher of Gloneration? What subject would you like to teach to young talents starting a global career?
No clue. I would maybe what I would teach is the importance of the basic things. Because having made my career a majority of startups, I would teach I don't know how to find an office, how to get the telephone line, all these kind of things, and I would also teach some history of the places in which their career is going to take place.
That's very interesting because honestly, you never think that you need so deep knowledge in terms of history. But when you know it, many things make sense.
Why I say this? Because in Asia, they place more importance to the context in which the decision has to be taken than we Europeans do. So when you ask why happened, they normally start from the Song dynasty. So I know because 17 years ago, the guy told me that, and then they tell you a very long story. While in Europe, we don't really give that much importance when at work a decision has to be taken. You normally take a look at the numbers, you assess the consequences, positive or negative, of your decisions, you quantify them, and then you make your call. If you are good, 70% of the time you're right. If you are bad, 70% of the time you're wrong. But there is no way you're always right or always wrong. While if you have a better understanding of the context, at least it gives you a different perspective of what you have to decide, because you can understand wider implications.
I love these two extremes that you mentioned, the really basic stuff, which sometimes the CEO doesn't want to do it, like find an office. I experienced myself, and especially when you are in a city super expensive and super booming, and you have certain requirements to fit because you work for a luxury brand, it's a real nightmare. And then the very high and cultural level. The two extremes make everything in the middle easier. This is a very nice perspective. So now the Gloneration game, I will define some areas and some life skills. And you need to tell me whether you feel global or local in your experience.
Local meaning what? Italian?
Local, you can say local, or you can also specify, I feel Italian, I feel Japanese, related to that task. So the first one.
Good.
Food, global or local? Sorry, food?
I'm totally local Italian.
Education?
Global.
Sport?
Global.
Creativity?
Global.
Family?
I would say Italian. Everybody globally is attached to their family in different ways, but for sure everybody is. So I would say Italian.
Arts and culture?
Italian. I have classical study as my background. Italian.
Beauty and appearance.
Would take an hour to reply, because the concept of beauty changes according to every single country. You can go from the Japanese way of beauty being, let's say, creativity inside of a certain set of proportion defined as beauty, to the Italian one that is a pure expression of the personal creativity. So I find beauty everywhere. So I would say global.
Design.
Global.
Music.
Global.
Movies.
I'm not a big movies fan myself, but I tend to watch whatever my wife forced me to see. So global.
Holidays or destinations?
Italy, local Italy.
Time management?
I would say Japanese. I tend to be extremely organized in my things.
Problem solving?
German.
Empathy?
Empathy is not related to the country you come from. Is to the single person. So no answer.
Mirko Bordiga origin.
Mirko's world.
Emotional intelligence?
Same as before. You don't learn.
Leadership style?
Global. I don't have the Italian leadership style. I'm not very hierarchical.
Strategic thinking?
Global.
And last one, team management.
Global, of course.
What is next for you? That's my last question.
Have fun. Keep having fun. That's fundamental. Life is made of fun. I have to do things that bring me joy every day.
Is there next project, as you said?
I just started this one. This one, well, now I am focusing the majority of my time and attention on the Australian market. So Pacific area has always been a part of Asia Pacific that I didn't really follow that much, because I'm more being into Asian. But now I'm discovering Australia more, the Pacific one, yes. Going there is fun.
Thank you so much, Mirko, for your time, your suggestions.
Thank you. It's very nice to be part of this project, and thank you for thinking about me.
Of course. I think you're not just a wonderful manager, but you've been very supportive. So when you received the award, I really felt you totally deserved it, because you're always very valuable for the community. You supported many projects also with Chamber of Commerce, European, Italian, and you're also properly linked with the local culture. So thank you so much for the interview, but for everything you did and you're doing in your global career. Okay, guys, this is it for today. I got so many ideas and inspirations from Mirko, and I hope you got them too. Thanks for listening to this episode of Gloneration. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please make sure you follow us and invite friends to do the same. The more we are, the better. For more curiosities and insights about Gloneration and our guests, check our website, gloneration.com. Make sure you follow us and be here every couple of weeks. Ciao!